Hello and welcome along to the wee wankers at Four Tims in a podcast. We're delighted to be headlining day one of the ACSOM Celtic Weekender. I'll just start. I'm Daniel. I've got Dan top left, Andy top right, and Tony next to me. What we just start by a wee quick 5-10 minutes about how we are and how we feel about it. So, from my point of view, I actually moved to work in Edinburgh in March 2019, just after graduation. And even though there's a lot of Celtic fans and Rangers fans in my work and that, you need to be kind of diplomatic when you're at work. And I'd missed being able to kind of say what I wanted about Celtic, talking to my pals. So Dan and Andy and Tony were desperate to start a podcast. And reluctantly I joined. Probably the worst decision I ever made was joining them midday free. But me and Dan had actually done one before, so Dan, you're a veteran in this world. How did you come about to join this one, and why did you think it was a good idea?
Like you say, Danny, me and you used to do a much better podcast years ago. Being relegated a few, but now we used to do the Nothing But Respect podcast with a few other content creators. So like a couple of the guys from Gig Pod were on it as well, and a few other great guys that were on it as well. Like you say, we've been pals for years and years, and then these two just hassled us. They loved our podcast so much they're desperate to bring us back from the ashes. And it's at the end of the treble season, it just sort of hit up. Obviously, many people that listen to us will know that we were one of the biggest fans of Neil Lennon getting the job, and we sort of felt that we had a lot to say, and it just started out as a bit of fun. We were interested to see if anybody would want to listen to us shite, but it soon picked off. Like episode 3, we had an Invincible Celt and Sviatchenko, who very, very kindly came on and spoke to us for about an hour about his time.
Just on that, Dan, what people don't know about that is Eric Sviatchenko gave us a tour of his nice house.
This is how inexperienced we were. So I was sitting on the couch on a Sunday afternoon, I think it was, and sitting about in my boxers and t-shirt, and then Eric Sviatchenko, big handsome Dane, puts on his camera and decides to give us a tour of his house and does it as a video chat, and I'm sort of fumbling trying to work out what to do. But no, he was absolutely brilliant. We've had a lot of great excerpts on. Like, I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but Craig Burley was fantastic. We just walked in for here in 3 years. Greats like Lubo, Tom Boyd as well. Like, there's been too many to mention. And the reaction we've had to anybody that listens has generally been positive. Like, this season especially, we seem to have been the go-to when Celtic sort of hit a crisis. People were desperate to hear what we wanted, what we were about to say. And like, I know, like as I say, people just score it in for Neil Lennon, but we'd love nothing better than him to turn it around. And hopefully, as we go on this season, we will be able to get what we thrown back in our faces.
Andy, you were quite vocal about starting a podcast. Why did you think there was a need for us to join in the fun?
That's about everyone. I just wanted to somewhere to moan, and that wasn't the pub or wasn't the game. And obviously we always talked about it for long enough, and we've all been vocal enough for long stretches of time across sort of Twitter, Facebooks, Instagrams, a lot. It was always an idea that I fancied. Here we are. I suppose it was. I just thought, I'll get you together. You haven't really got a choice in the matter, and we're doing it. The group chat gets set up, and we've never really looked back.
Tony, you were also buzzing about joining the podcast. Has it lived up to your expectations so far?
It's been a good laugh. Enjoyed it. We've had a lot of good guests and a lot of good laughs along the way. Just what I would say, see when you're not speaking, maybe mute your mic. I don't know if it's just me, but there seems to be a bit of kind of like background noise when somebody's speaking. So, but aye, the podcast is what it is. But I don't think people want to hear our life stories. I think they want to hear about God for the Quadruple Treble, and obviously this great charity event, which is all about raising money for good causes. So,
yeah, just a big thanks to IH Decorating for sponsoring our hour tonight. Obviously, we're raising money for Rock Talk, Food Facts Friends Food Bank, also Children First, and Help for the Homeless, which are 4 great causes that take on even more significance at this point of the year, especially the year that we've all had. But we can, for bad a year as 2020 has been, Tony, we can actually end it with a trophy tomorrow, which will be our 12th consecutive trophy. So we're going to have a wee look back at the Scottish Cup runs during the last 4 years. So we'll start with you, Tony. 2016-17, we hadn't won the Cup for 4 years. But we're obviously going for an invincible season that year, heading into the latter stages of the Scottish Cup. We drew Rangers in the semi-final a year after losing to them on penalties. Did you think that was a great chance for revenge, or were you just thinking invincible treble?
I was just desperate to do the treble at that point, because there had been a lot of talk. People remember every year we were expected to do the treble because Rangers weren't in the league, and every year we'd failed with them in the league, and it became a bit of a burden. Dyler came the closest to him and Lennon, and it just wasn't something we managed to do. I'd actually remember the day we signed Brendan Rodgers, my dad made a comment. He says, I want to win a treble every year until we do 10 in a row, which it was just a throwaway comment at the time, but it looks as though we've come quite close. We won't do it because obviously the Ross County game. But I think when we drew them in the semi-final, by then we beat them 2-1, and it beat them 5-1 as well, and we might have had the one each straw at Parkhead in there as well. So you were full of confidence, and we'd beat them in the League Cup semi at Hampden. I remember that game. I think it was McGregor scored, then Griffiths got the penalty, and then it was on to the final. But I was just desperate for the treble. I bet it the second Rodgers got named the manager. I remember thinking the last Northern Irish manager to come in was Martin O'Neill, and he won the treble. So I thought, why not have a punt again? And I think looking back, I mean, that was the best ever for me. The Rogic final really is the best ever. That'll take so much to my match. It was just for probably a lot of people listening to this. I mean, today an invincible treble, beat your rivals, 5-1 at home, 5-1 away. It just really was a ridiculous season. I remember talking to you the night before the invincible treble game.
I mean, you were on Xbox Live playing FIFA co-op to about 4 a.m, and I says to you, Celtic were 71 to win from behind, and I thought, I don't know why, I thought it was a good bet, and I think it was at 10-15 and Aberdeen scored, but no, and then obviously equalised straight away, and then I thought, for me, that first final, I watched it again the other day in preparation for this, but I think everybody played well, but particularly Sinclair had a good game, but Roberts and Armstrong, but Armstrong in particular, darn, I know he scored the equaliser, but the whole second half, it was him that drove us on. It was kind of, we're no winning this today. I just thought it was probably Armstrong's best performance in a Celtic shirt.
Oh, definitely. That season, Armstrong was just fantastic. Like you say, he just pushed us forward in midfield, and you could probably argue he's not been replaced since he left. But that day, especially, like you say, we go behind that day. Griffiths loses Johnny Hayes at a corner, and it's a good finish by Hayes, to be fair. And you're sort of thinking, you'd went the league scene invincible, and of course that's a tremendous achievement, but you're still been a bit disappointed because if you didn't pick up a treble, because everything had been geared to it, the season had been so good, we'd reached the Champions League, like I said, they'd done so well in the league, also won the League Cup against Aberdeen early in the season, and as much as you were worrying about it, you didn't have much time because Stuart Armstrong equalises almost instantly, and I think the refs got a lot of stick, and rightly so, because the majority of them are absolutely terrible in Scotland, but I think it's Callum McGregor gets absolutely wiped out, and there's a great advantage play because Armstrong just picks it up and fundles a great finish into the far corner, and it was just the spirit of that team. They didn't even seem, it wasn't over celebrated. It was sort of right, let's get back up the park and get the second goal and go in front. But obviously took a long time, like you say. Scott Sinclair, who very much a talisman for that season, was pretty unlucky, missed a few good chances, and he sort of thought it's destined for extra time. Obviously, you would have took it, because I don't know if it was Hayes again, but Aberdeen missed an absolute sitter, and it looked like it was going to go extra time until Tom Rogic, who, as Tony said, I don't think he'll ever be beaten, to clinch an invincible treble, and that style and that fashion was just absolutely incredible. And as much as very much soured his legacy, like, I think it just typified how good a manager Rods was, that in that euphoria, like, you didn't see him over celebrating. He wasn't running down to the corner flag to celebrate. He was immediately with Chris Davies working out, and I think it was Sviatchenko got brought on in the last minute, but he definitely made a sub, and that was an absolutely incredible day. I think it was absolutely pissing down with rain at Hampden that day. I remember being there, but it's a day I'll never forget.
Andy, what was your thoughts about that? I must admit, I was like Tony. It was all about winning a treble for me, and we were that close. And I kind of, by about after we won the League Cup, I thought, right, there's a chance that we could do the treble here. But by February, March, April, we hadn't been beat, and the unbeaten thing was maybe becoming a wee bit bigger for some. But for me, after the Dyler thing and that, it was just the Inverness semi. I just wanted to win a treble, like, so badly. That was the main thing for me. But the unbeaten thing was like this extra level of kind of glory that the team went for.
Aye, I think you're bang on. Like you say, we were, after the sort of seasons before and the failed attempts at trebles, and let's be honest, we should have done them. We absolutely should have, and I think everybody knew that. And then it sort of got to a stage where you started to believe, you started to see how good we were playing, and then you wouldn't realise it, but I was just happy to be winning, sort of mainly every week, and playing really good football. And then people would say, we've still not actually been beat yet. And you were getting, like I say, into Novembers, Decembers, into the new year, and you're going, nobody's actually beat us in a domestic competition yet, which was, it came as a bit of a surprise to a lot of us, given how the previous years had been. And then, like you say, you start to believe, right, this is the time now. If ever there's a time to us to get the trebles that we should, as I said, we should have been winning. Then it all came together, and I was a bit similar to you at first with the unbeaten run and the whole invincible thing. I never, sort of halfway through the season, a lot of people were talking about it, but I didn't want to put too much thought in it, because you know what football can be like, and then particularly when sort of the season winds down and you've got the league games sort of towards the end of the season. No, I mean, how many times have you seen sort of players drop off, and no sort of slight on certain individuals, but players know the season's done and sort of less meaningful games in the league and things like that. But it was almost as if they sort of stepped it up and they just refused to let that happen, which was brilliant. But I was very much the same as you, sort of first of all, and then it all came together, which was absolutely magic. Like you say, I think it summed up the entire season with the way that we clinched that invincible treble. It was just a perfect moment. I mean, winning games and games gone late on us isn't good for your heart rate at the best of times, but there's never a better way to win a game of football, is there?
No, there's not. And there was a degree of, it's all right saying it now for 3 years later, but there was a degree of inevitability about that game, the way that they kept going. My memories of that season are like yours. It was all about winning the treble for me, and then when we got to like March on that, we've not been beat. But I was so nervous for that semi-final because of what had happened the year before, and I know we took goals after them before then and whatever, but I was so nervous for that game, and just think, these one-half games, anything can happen, and you might get a dodgy referee, you might just not turn up, because we didn't turn up really in the one each game, and then McGregor scores early on and you just settle down, and then you get a second, and then you just kind of play them off the park, and you think, this is great, we should do this every year, and then we did. But I'm going to put you on the spot, Dan, starting with you. Apart from the Rogic winner, what's your favourite memory of that year's Scottish Cup run?
That's putting me on the spot. like we just spoke about, see the Armstrong response, like for me was as significant a moment as you'll have that season. Just it sort of summed up the team, and like the Heats could have went down because obviously it'd been a long season, but I'm not going to go for Rogic then. I'll just go for Armstrong just because I just thought it just really defined how resilient that team was and how nothing was going to beat them that season.
Andy, what about you? You've had a few seconds. Tony, you're going for the longest, so I'm hoping for a good moment out of you. But Andy, what's your favourite moment?
Do you know, I don't know, it's a hard one to sort of take away in no game of the Rogic, obviously scoring the goal, and because that, do you know what I mean? Like when I think about that season and talk about so that Scottish Cup final, that's what I think about. But Dan summed it up pretty well. Just the whole reaction. Obviously, Armstrong scoring that goal was like the initial reaction was right. We're in this year. It's no going to sort of disappear and fade away, and we're going to lose everything we've started to think about and dream about in terms of invincibles and trebles and all that. So I probably would. Not something that often happens, but I'm agreeing with Dan here. Just that, I think it just sums it up. If not a Rogic goal, then it's got to be that moment. You just obviously Armstrong puts the ball in it after sort of going 1-0 down. I think it was Johnny Hayes that scored it. Obviously, ended up a Celtic player and successful in that, but probably the moment that he stuck the ball in the net, and then it just seemed like very, very typical of that Rodgers team that it wasn't about, oh, we're back in the game, we've got a chance. It was, no, we're back in the game, but we're going to win the game. It was very telling, and it was, like you say, it was just a sense of inevitability. Like, despite all the feelings that naturally go in a cup final, you're fighting yourself for every decision that goes, every time the ball goes out of play, you're screaming for everything. But like I say, at the same time, when you look back on it and sort of, let's say, benefit of hindsight, you see that Armstrong goal, you see the reaction, and you know. And I mean, we probably all should have had made an air of calmness about it, just with the fact that we hadn't lost all season. And let's be honest, is Aberdeen ever really going to take that away? But absolutely, it's just got to be the reaction. Not even just Armstrong goal, just the reaction of the team, because it seemed as if they never sort of, the team themselves didn't ever sort of worry. It's as if they knew, like, no, we're good enough, we're proving it, and we're going to prove it again. So probably just the reaction of the overall team when we scored that equaliser, they didn't panic, which is something we see for say, like, all too often the players look as if they're panicking. There was just an air of calmness about that side that I'd fucking pray for, to be honest with you.
No, you're right. As I say, it was inevitable. Tony, what's yours?
I've not actually been having a think. I've just been reading the chat. The abuse you're getting for that fucking jumper.
Hey, it's nearly Christmas time. I look like a fisherman. I don't know why folk are
I've just been
be nice and all that. Know what I mean? Jumpers are absolutely
for it, so we can all go and get one.
I only wear decent gear. I don't know what that's all about.
Best gear.
And somebody says the heavy metal geezer circa 1976 in the bottom left doesn't speak much. I'm just sitting reading the comments. My favourite moment.
The hardest part is trying to get you to shut up, Tony. So what's that?
What's that?
The hardest part's getting you to shut up.
I know, and this will be me. I'm glad there's a comment come up the screen there. I usually I'm not as quiet. I've been subdued. No, the Callum McGregor goal against Rangers in the semi-final, an excellent finish, such a great goal. Lustig to Dembele, McGregor just nestles it in. It's a goal that a lot of people spoke about. The noise when the ball hits the net. It just passes it in. It's outstanding. And then the best part is we score a goal really similar a year later. But that would probably be mine. But so mate, that season itself was just ridiculous.
Apart from this jumper, my favourite thing about that season was, do you remember the St Mirren game when we were 1-0 down at half time at Parkhead?
If that was that season or no, because that was
a
chance to go 2-0 up. I remember they had a really clear chance, if I remember.
And we didn't look like we were going to score in that game in the first half, and I remember going to the shop at half time for my uncle, and as I was walking down I met somebody who was going the same route, and he says, "What do you think of that?" And I said, "Oh, I'd take a replay." Like, St Mirren were in the championship and struggling to get out it, and I'm like, I'd take a replay because I was just so desperate to win treble by that point, and everything was geared towards that. And ironically, that was the game that Rodgers signed Lewis Morgan on the back of. But after that, we made history winning an invincible treble. And how do you top it? Do you go for another one? So the next season, Tony, did you think we'll go to day 2 straight away, or did you think we'll drop a game somewhere?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I know a lot of people just bet it again. I think everybody was that confident. We kind of bounced into that season. We went undefeated for such a large period until the December, and then we dropped points at Hibs, and then we lost heavily to Hearts. But it was always possible. The first League Cup that year, I think we beat Hibs 4-2 in the semi, then beat Motherwell 2-0 in the final. I don't know if that's right. I think it is. And then it was always on. The league, we took a bit of time to wrap up. We wrapped that up with obviously the kind of the 3-2 Edward game at Ibrox, and then Rangers lost to Killie the week later in St Paddy's Day. I remember that. It was a cracking day out. You need to change jumpers. You've taken out this chat. I saw people are interested. I think they're listening to us. I think they're just looking.
I've no the jumpers here to stay a bit like Neil Lennon. We'll review it at New Year.
The jumper looks better, and it's probably a bit better than him. But no, I think it was always possible with Rodgers. You had that feeling you could beat anybody. I remember going to the new camp and got that penalty with Dembele, and I thought, we score here, we could probably do this, mob. So there was that belief under Rodgers, because of how good a manager he was, despite what happened when he left.
Aye, Darren, the next year in the Scottish Cup was actually a wee bit more difficult. Was it 3-0 up against Partick? They nearly squeezed a replay out of it. Again, Rangers again in the semi-final. This year it was a wee bit easier that year in the semi-final. We beat them 4-0. Did you get caught up in it, or did you get stopped to think that, God, we're in the middle of something historic here?
I think we did get caught up in it. It's like you say, Partick gave us a bit of a scare, and I think we were then breezed by Morton in the Scottish Cup. And then, as you say, the semi-final, like against Rangers, was like the year before we'd won 2-0, and it was the most dominant 2-0 you'd ever seen. But that 4-0 for me was just the absolute, I think, what was it called? The Espanyolification, like, of Rangers, because Celtic just completely ripped the arse out of them that day. And like, one of my favourite memories for that campaign was Dembele chipping, I think, who was it, Fordham, who was in goal for Rangers that day, with his penalty. And you think it couldn't even get any more demeaning in that for them, but then we get another penalty and Dembele just gives it to Cham. It was just superb. And then that Scottish final that year, like, obviously played Motherwell for the second time in a final that season, and it was just as comfortable as you could hope for. Like, I hope we do something similar tomorrow. We get 2 early goals, always help. And Callum McGregor again, what a player he's been for us the last 3-4 years. He became such a fantastic player for us, and his finish in that game was superb. And Jams wasn't too bad either. And as you say, it just sort of felt like the norm. Like, under Rodgers, you just felt like who would beat us to a trophy, especially with the state of teams around us at the time. That one was, especially the final, was a lot less undramatic, but it was just as enjoyable for me, especially with the scenes that followed with open top busing.
I was going to ask Freeze that, actually, because I was thinking about this earlier. Even though you had the big celebration at Celtic Park in Glasgow after it, was that final understated? Was it is it underrated in the history? Because I think it kind of gets squashed in with the invincible treble and then the treble and then obviously tomorrow with the quadruple treble. But that game was done after half an hour.
That's maybe why it's not spoke about as much. You look at the invincible treble, it was poetic. Last kick of the ball, Nessun Dorma's been put over it. It's been watched a million times. You can never get past without clicking that. That game where McGregor and Cham score, the game's done in jig time, and it's a stroll, it's a walk, it's dead easy. Treble, you go a goal behind, you get the individual brilliance of Edward that digs us out a hole, and it becomes his final. So, aye, pretty much. It's understated. I think because it's the middle one as well. It's a double, and obviously we had the Invincible, then the treble, but it was a fantastic achievement as well at the time. It was well celebrated. I didn't make it to Parkhead because I went straight to the pub and get pissed to celebrate. But I think now looking back, they really were the ridiculous glory days. But hopefully a lot more glory to come starting tomorrow. I think we need to take that game in isolation, despite the kind of difficult season we've had so far. But if we can get the quadruple treble, it'll be some achievement. All I'm seeing is people messaging me about this jumper in the chat, talking about this jumper. What a choice. But I'm looking forward to tomorrow. But the double treble was brilliant. I'm sure everybody enjoyed that. I mean, that's the thing as well. If you look at it, I mean, 3 trebles in 130 years. And then at the time, 2 trebles in 2 years. It was ridiculous stuff. And then it get even better somehow.
Aye, Andy, the double treble final was probably ironically, but it was one of Moussa Dembele's best games for Celtic. He led the line really well. Comments are flying in about his jumper, honestly. Like,
I mean, I just can't stop. I mean, honestly, it's it. This chat, a lot of my phone's just going off. It's not with the fact that everybody's trying to stop you on
it is next time I'm invited on here, I'll need to top it. So,
that's the best. But you're going to end up
commission on that. Just said Fisherman's friends, and somebody says to me last week, because I actually wore this to my work's Zoom Christmas night. Somebody said I look like a fisherman, so I'll take that.
Saying 3 times in a jumper, that's my personal favourite. So everybody's welcome to talk.
But the double treble, Andy, how do you view that in terms of the other two? Or is it, can you compare it, or is it special in its own right?
I think what was said about it is it's often forgotten about, which is a mental thought, because if you say to anybody else anywhere in the world, like 2 seasons in a row, you'll do a triple again and all the rest, like, if to say that it's something that's not spoken about enough is absolutely bang on. We posted that on Twitter the other day about obviously McGregor's goal and sort of how it was taken. It's just an underrated run, and it's bang on if you're honest about it. But like you say, it's just hard because we get lost in our own success at times, and it's just the way it is, unfortunately. But when you look back on it, it's just the whole thing, the game against Rangers, just the way we dismantled them, and the way again we just dismantled Motherwell. It was faultless, absolutely faultless. But I can't really think straight. I just keep saying the word jumper. I'm actually beginning to question myself. That's how it's spelled. I don't know anymore. I've just seen the word that many times. But listen, mate, if anybody can get away with it, whatever it.
I know you think going for a quadruple treble, people would have meant to talk about, but last year going for the treble, Tony, I don't know about you, but I just couldn't believe that we were actually in position for a treble come the time Rodgers left. And then we beat Hibs, so we only had Aberdeen and then obviously the final, but the treble, it seems just crazy thinking about it when you've seen how meekly we were put out the cup the other week.
It was pretty ridiculous. Obviously, Rodgers got up and fucked off in February, left us with a really tough week ahead with Hearts in the league, which we won in kind of truly Celtic fashion with the last kick of the ball. And then we beat Hibs 2-0 with Forrest and Brown scoring, which was a great game. And then after that, we kind of stuttered to the finish line, and you thought, are we actually going to win this? We won the league in the end quite well. And then we went into the final. I think, did we play Hearts the week before at Parkhead? That's when
Lennon put a kind of second team out and we won 2-1.
We won 2-1, and then get into that game. We were fucking rubbish. We'd been rubbish for long periods. Obviously, at that time, I'd already started ordering my Rafa Benitez mask for his arrival. That was imminent, apparently. Between him, Jose Mourinho, and Andrew Villas-Boas, I wasn't sure who I was going to get behind. But I was looking forward to it. Obviously, we went a goal down.
That a beast has made him turn his mic off now. That's banging order.
Danny's got to come back wearing a bra and it'll look a lot better than a fucking jumper.
Can I just say this, Corey? One of the best comments I've seen is saying Dan swinging in his chair like a Bond villain.
I think Danny get called a Bond villain as well. I've seen somebody call him Meatloaf, which is par for the course. Usually it's my hair that's getting a slagging, so I'm glad Danny's jumper's taking the heat off me. But what was I talking about? I was talking about the treble. When we went a goal behind, I thought that was it. We were fucked. And then I seen the penalty for Edward again. I think he buys that quite well. Keeper should probably save it. And then he scores a winner. Lustig puts him through. Oh, he's back. He's back. I think everybody turned off when you went away there. They chucked it. And then Edward comes through, scores the winner. And then I remember the full-time whistle going, you're just looking about and it's just grown guys bursting into tears. And then about an hour later, I burst into tears because we gave Lennon the job full-time. So, but no, a great day. And obviously, even Lennon get the job couldn't ruin my day. But it was just
certainly fucking ruined mine, Tony. Tell you that.
That story, I think you'd better rethink that statement. It ruined my day. Yeah. Andy, what's your memories of that day and completing the treble? Because at that time, I remember the whole. I don't know if it was called. I think it was because Rodgers had left, but it was a whole kind of right. One more, let's do it one more time. And now we're going for it again. But what was your views last May?
Pretty bang on for what you just said. I mean, he obviously left. There was a sour taste left, and listen, it is what it is. It was brilliant, and the whole somebody just actually commented there, taking the words right out of my mouth. You would think it was me writing the comment, but the whole thing was amazing. But ultimately, it was something I'd never dreamt I would see. But I couldn't have wished for sort of better success and a better thing to happen for Celtic. We went on and with sort of unprecedented success. I mean, how many times do you see a team going and just absolutely running riot, completely every domestic competition going, and then obviously a left line comes in and you think, right, just keep everything going, just keep it chiming out, which is what we've done. And it's hard now, especially just with how things are, because it's everybody just says we told you so. But if you bang on when the final whistle went, if I could bottle up that moment and just have that as my experience of that sort of cup final, and not what happened after when they announced him in the showers, see if I could ignore that and it didn't happen that day. That is possibly close to how I felt when we won the Invincible treble, the first one, when obviously Rogic scored late on. That's how good and euphoric that moment was. Because obviously, in reality, Edward scored, it was 80 plus minutes. That goal was popped in. So, do you know what I mean? You're getting close to another last minute win at Adera, and it was just very sort of symptomatic of that team, the way that they never gave up. But listen, it is what it is. I'd never have predicted that's where we were sort of 5 years ago, whatever. I'd never predicted it was going to happen, but tremendous, absolutely amazing. And just, it was amazing, but just unfortunately, what they done that day sort of led us to where we are right now. But I mean, we're going to have to start calling these comments out because some of them are absolutely fucking unbelievable.
The thing is, I'm just surprised. I'm just shocked there's so many perfect people sitting in the comments on a Saturday night. You think they'd have something better to do. Not get a night out of it. Well, we can't have a night out planned in this climate, can you? But listen, the jumpers here to stay. It's an icon. It knows me well.
Danny, make everybody a deal. The jumper goes when Neil Lennon goes.
Aye, absolutely. I'll auction the jumper when Neil Lennon goes.
When it's here to stay.
But we'll review it in the new year and we'll see what happens. Dan, what was your memory about beating Hearts in the cup last year? Did you, like me, did you think it was one more time, or did you think this domination is never going to end?
It was definitely hard to see when it would end. I think that full campaign I enjoyed, like from the early game and the first round that we entered, like it was a bit of a bad atmosphere. Obviously, there was a bit of trouble outside the ground, and Timo Weah came on and got the first goal for Celtic, and I remember getting caught up in it, thinking that Weah was going to be fantastic for us, and whether that's down to Lennon, Rodgers, or whoever, they just didn't quite make the grade at Celtic, and possibly some of his choices to go and play with America hurt him in that regard in terms of staying at Celtic a bit longer. But then we obviously had the St Johnstone game. I sat next to Tony that day. I vacated my seat in 108 to go and sit up with Tony and the Gods and witnessed a talismanic performance for Scott Sinclair as he hit a hat trick.
I would have been, by the way, sit next to him for a game of football.
It's no happened since, that's all I'm saying. It was great, and then obviously Lennon's sort of interim in charge was pretty poor, to be honest, and you sort of worried about the game against Aberdeen at Hampden, but it was probably the only time we played well in that interim period. And like we say so often on the podcast, you always know that it's going to come to an end, and obviously it has now. But the moment when Hearts scored early in the second half, I just panicked, because you're like, the immediate say it happening just sort of dawned on you, and like as we'd said, like under Lennon, you weren't as confident that they would be resilient, but it was just an absolutely brilliant performance for Edward, and as was said, wins a penalty, puts it away. You could argue if the keeper could have saved it, and then one of the iconic images for me for that is when Lustig wins a header to put Edward through, and he just puts his arms up in there and starts celebrating before Edward's even hit the shot. I thought that was brilliant. Like, Lustig obviously is something that means a lot to Celtic fans, and Celtic means a lot to him, so to see him celebrating that before the ball hit the back of the net was fantastic. And then, like, as much as I'm not a fan of Neil Lennon, like, you get caught up in it, and like I was, and there's only one Neil Lennon, because as much as I didn't want him to get the permanent job, I thought it was the perfect way to have like thanked him for taking the interim job, and it would have been time for Celtic to move on. But obviously, as I said, half an hour later, like, Peter Lawwell was offered him in the shower, and it's sort of breaking. Like, I thought Celtic had nicked on Twitter. I thought this can't be real, like, because even like the whole manner of it was unprofessional, I thought, as well. I thought it was just like an opportunist move that Lawwell had done. Like, I couldn't believe it, but it didn't ruin the day. I know that day sort of get rerouted because there was too many like Celtic fans about, and I think there was still great scenes up at like Trongate and Glasgow Crossing. That, like, it was, the closer you got to the barras, it was just all the Celtic fans, and it really was a city that day. And obviously we won't see scenes like that tomorrow just because of the current predicament we're in, but it was a phenomenal achievement, and like, the tomorrow will be completely different because of like the circumstance we're in, but it would just, this would really seal it up and like establish this team. Like, who knows if we're going to win the league, but for this team to have went and win 4 trebles in a row it'll never be topped. Like, it'll never be repeated.
Just to pick up on a comment about possessed me to wear this jumper, I was called, I put it on, that was it. I actually thought it was quite cool. I'll still be wearing it. Your comments, it's sticks and stones and all that. I'll be fine. But my thoughts in the treble, I just thought it was going to be one last push, and then what's happened this year would maybe happen last year when Lennon got the job. But no, it was a great day out. I remember I've actually watched all 3 finals with my same pal PG in the same pub, and they've all get better and better as they went on. Even though, looking back, the Rogic Invincible treble was phenomenal, and you know, that was great. But the treble was just, the funny thing is, when Lustig, he does it to Edward, he doesn't take a touch. He just lets it run on and then slots it away. Just shows you the confidence and you know, how easy it was for Edward at that point. You know how good he is, that he just lets it run on and just scores. But you know, a treble is just such a remarkable achievement. You know, one, to think that we'd went years without winning any trebles. I mean, it'd been 15 years, and the closest we'd got is, you know, I know Lennon lost in a final and then a semi-final, but Dyla get treated out the cup as well. So when it got to that point, you know, you're that close, but at the same time you're that far away. To win 3, you know, was just remarkable. To be going for 4 even though it's taken 6 months longer than we thought it would. It's tomorrow's going to be such a great achievement if they can pull it off and win it again. But so we'll just finish by kind of previewing the game. Tony, what's your thoughts on it? Do you think it's going to be a walkover, or do you think Hearts will put up a bit of a fight?
I've got a feeling it's going to be a cunty game. I just have a bad feeling it's going to be a tough game. I don't know what the weather's meant to be. The more you would like to think with the big pitch, with your players, it can certainly benefit us. I think one of the big things is what's the team lineup going to be, because what we think it should be and how it might be could be completely different. I know Lennon had said earlier in the week about giving the guys that go is there a shot at starting. There he says there's no room for sentiment. So I'm hoping he goes with the latter, and the fact there is no room for sentiment in football. David Turnbull didn't help us get to there. Should he start? Absolutely. Sorrell didn't help us get there. Should he start? 100%. Laxalt didn't help us get there. Should he start? Definitely. So I think you need to play your best team. And the thing is, as well, as much as a cup game for last season, this could definitely... It could boost us, because we've still got a league to fight for. We've obviously got a fucking hell of a long way to go before we're anywhere near getting back in that race. But we've got a couple of, maybe 2-3 weeks coming up, which are, I said it in our previous pod, which is basically history defining. We need to go to Ibrox and get a result, and we need to win the quadruple treble. You do that, then there's got to be a much better atmosphere about the club. It's a lot more positive. Everybody will be back on side, and then you go all in for the last 5 months of the season and hope you can pull off the 10 in a row, which obviously everybody wants. So I think the will be a difficult game. They'll stick the boot in. Guys like Halliday and Naismith done it before. That's fine. That's part of their game. We just need to make sure we play good football against them. Like say Edward can definitely punish them. But my main thing is he plays Turnbull in set pieces. The likes of Julian and Duffy, although we've not been great defensively, these guys can be great assets going forward. They can definitely help us in the air. So that's what I want. I'd like to see him start the guys that have come in the last 2 games and won, as opposed to the guys who, I don't know, gets papped out of Europe, papped out the cup for Ross County and get us so far behind in the league. So I hope he goes for that, and I hope we get the job done.
Michael the boy in the comments has asked what your starting 11 would be, Dan, so you can kick off. What would your starting 11 be tomorrow? I know Tony's mentioned a few players he'd like to see play.
Starting 11 for me, I would go... The keeper's one of the tough ones. I don't know if Connor Hazel's ready for it. I know he obviously played Europa League game and the game against Kilmarnock, but I'd give Barker to him if it's me. Like, I know everybody's taking to him, but for me, we spent big money on him. The same was sort of persistent with Duffy. We need to give Barkas a run at games and let him try and make his way. And, see if you play him in a cup final and make a few good saves, or God forbid he goes to a penalty shoot and he's the one that saves a few, then it could be the making him. But I know you could do that for any keepers, but I've still got a lot of hope for Barkas. So for me, I'd put Barkas in. I think just the way a lack of wingers at the moment, it'll be 3 at the back. I think it'll be Shane Duffy. It's a tough one. Shane Duffy, Julian, and I don't know if he'll maybe bring Beaton in. Just depends where he wants to play Ayer, because Ayer's a set up to start, whether he plays it right back or not. In fact, I'll flip it. We'll go for full right back, because I think Ayer will play it right back. Then you'll have Shane Duffy, Chris Julian. I'm pretty sure it will be Laxalt at left back. Who I would play and who I think plays slightly different, because I think Scott Brown will play. But for me, I would have Callum McGregor, David Turnbull, and I sort of go with Rogic. I just think he's a man for the occasion, and I would play McGregor, Turnbull, and Rogic. I think they're arguably our 3 best, sort of technical footballers, and it's a big Hampden pitch, so I'd go for them. And then out in the wings, Ellie Nussey's got to play at left, and there's not much to choose between Christie and Frimpong in terms of their current form, but I think it'll be Ryan Christie that does play. And then up front, of course, it can only be one, and it's got to be your jumper, Danny. It's got to be Odsonne Edouard, the other star man of this show. I think it will be Edward. Who knows? It may be his last cup final for Celtic if we do want to sell him. So I think he'll be looking to, as was mentioned on a previous podcast, he's missed the big occasion he's made for these days, and I think Edward will be the main man tomorrow. But our bench will be important tomorrow as well. Like, as much as we've had a tough season, there will be players that will need to come off the bench, like Patrick Kamala, maybe even in Cham, Sorrow, Scott Brown, whoever. Like, it's going to be an important game, and I think it will be tough. So it's desperate. Like, as much as the players that have won the treble deserve massive respect and massive credit, like they're also the players that have failed to win the League Cup this season, have got knocked out of 2 European competitions and got double digits behind in the league. So I think Lennon has to do the right thing and give a few new faces a chance tomorrow.
Andy, you get a different starting lineup if you put much thought in it?
Just need to have a word with the guy that's said my mic was a problem. I've been in mute this whole time, so can't believe I'm getting mixed up with Dan here. I would just start the full team in your jumper. We'll startle Hearts into just conceding the game. That's probably a great idea. But no, see, the best it is, I'm seeing Tony's hair starting to get an absolute digging in this chat as well. I'm loving it. I hope it's
digging the hair. I'm just looking at what's the name? I think it's like Celtic. What's the name? We'll read it out.
I've got to give it, but I love his consistency, but it's consistent. You gave it.
And then Danny, Celtic Week 1888, the bald head and shoulders, the banner.
Kieran Burns, who is the main man, likes this jumper, so anybody else's opinion just doesn't matter anymore.
As I say, Tony, listen, Shericko's no get a look in. As for the football,
Kieran Burns is actually under this jumper.
I wouldn't be surprised at that. As I said, as for the football, I think it's harsh to drop Hazard. Like I said, I think Barkas the same as before, giving Duffy a chance. I think he needs a chance. Just a settled front line in front of him. But on the game itself, I'd give Hazard to go. Listen, if the boy's ever going to make himself at Celtic, never going to be a special player, he's going to have to play in games like this, so play him. Just before I do carry on, but I think it's something we should mention that obviously Paul John's posted about it saying a grand total over £17,000 being raised, which is fucking unbelievable if we're all honest about it. Just for sort of what it is. So I don't want to be taken too seriously, but in the grand scheme of things, that money will make a big difference to a lot of people and a lot of causes, which is ultimately what we're all here for, banner aside. So thanks to everybody, which I'm sure Paul will say the exact same, we'll all say the exact same. But I just can't say thank you enough, because you're making a difference to a lot of people at a difficult time of the year. But as I was saying, so I think I'd stick with 4 at the back. I'd put Ayer at right back. I think we spoke about it in our show. Listen, the boy's not a right back, but he's got all the assets to play there, especially when you're playing in Scotland against teams like that. You can get away with it. Do you know what I mean? You've never put him in a big European game. I've seen somebody talking about the other day about Beaton. He's fine in Scotland, and I think that's very much the same way I have, just at right back. The boy's got all the attributes to be a top player, but in terms of sort of where we're at now and who we've got available, I think the best part is put him at right back and sort of get us through the game. Julian, Duffy, who have been very, very critical, but I agree with Tony. Asset when we're going forward, can score his goals, and listen, he played well enough in the previous game. Who knows, confidence might do a lot for him. He said he's been through a lot this year, so I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, because ultimately we've not got many options as it is, which is absolutely fine with me. I think Laxalt's got to come back in at left back. I think McGregor and Sorrow have got better options. I've not got time for sentiment in football. I've just not got time for it. Do you want to bring fucking Scott Brown on for the last 10 minutes or whatever to see the game out? You do that. That's absolutely fine with me, but these performances haven't justified a start, and like I said, no time for sentiment in the game. I think Sorrow's got to be there, and let's be honest, we need to start again, similar to what I said about Hazard. If we need to look to the future, which is what we need to do, we need to always be looking for what happens next season, what happens the season after next season. Guys like Sorrow are going to have to play in these big games, and if you can't bed them in the new, what are you going to do when Scott Brown's not there at all? When he can't come off the bench, and then you're trying to play him, that's just fucking stupid. And get him in for the get-go. McGregor, again, tumble ahead of him. I'd play Elena at left, Edward at right. I wouldn't disagree with any of that. My only issue would be a lot of people have said to put Frimpong at right. If we're all open and honest, but Frimpong's been pish. He's not been good enough. Miles off it. I mean, he's not right mid as it is. He's barely even a right back at times. I don't really know what he is. I can't really put my finger on it, but he's been miles off it. I think it'll probably be Christie, and I could probably make the argument for that because I think it's just about the only option we've got right now, which tells a lot about recruitment and the squad. But that's how I would go. I think the really only massive difference would be putting Christie at right, and I'd agree with it in all honesty. As much as I'm very, very critical of Christie, and I think he does a lot wrong in the game, I think that ultimately Frimpong's been pish, and we don't have an player to play out there. We don't have anybody else capable, and I think changing the formation could be risky. I don't want to see us halter and start doing fucking stupid shit when it's such a big game. If we can't win the game against Hearts with 8 players, then there's bigger problems to fry than who's on the pitch, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I think I said it on our show during the week. I think you play Scott Brown. I don't see any other way of lining up without Scott Brown. I think Scott Brown's a cert to play tomorrow. I think it will be Hazard, Ayer, Julian Duffy and Laxalt, and then it will be and then it will be Brown and McGregor and Turnbull, and then it will be Christie, Ellenus and Edward, I think. And then if things aren't going too well, he'll put Sorrow on. I like that because you know what. And it's no, we don't want to turn this into an anti-Lennon, but Lennon's not very thoughtful. If it's not going well, the first thing he'll do is put Sorrow on for Brown and hope that it magically, no matter how the game's going, if it's not going well. So I'd love to see Sorrow play. I just think he'll play Brown. I think it's a cert. And I think it's an absolute cert that he'll play Brown. I don't think he's even gave it a thought, to be honest. I think Brown leads us out. But we've only got a couple of minutes left, so Tony, I'll start with you. Give a prediction for tomorrow and who scores the goals.
I'll go for 1-0 Celtic. I think it'll be a tough game. I see the heat for the Hares definitely up now. Your jumpers no defended me. It's no help me for the full show. Some of the comments have been brilliant, absolutely top notch. 1-0 Celtic, Davy Turnbull to get the winner. And I think in isolation we'll look at it and go, what a fucking achievement. 12 trophies in a row. It'll be the club's 7th treble. If we can get there, three trebles in the first 130 years, and then possibly 4 trebles in the space of 4 years. It's just ridiculous to even be talking about. So I'm praying it happens. And I'll have my straighteners out and I'll be up early to dry my hair and get ready to watch it. So I'm looking forward to it.
Dan, what do you think the score will be and who scores the goal?
I think it'll be a tough game, but I think Celtic will see it out. I think they'll win 3-0. I don't know if I'll be able to watch it because I'm going to have to go and lie in a dark room after some of these comments. You've been getting it for the jumper, Tony the hair, and he sounds like a robot, and then I'm getting called a Bond villain. But I'm afraid, Mr. Hardy, it's time for you to go.
It's about you, no me. I've been all right, so I hope we stay that way. I've paid them all off.
Debatable. You're taking up my airtime, Andy. Let's just let the star of the show go on it. But no, 3-0 Celtic. I think Edward will look to prove a point on what could be his last game, his last final anyway, for Celtic. And Scott Brown will play a part. I think it will be from the start, but if we're being realistic, it shouldn't really matter who we play tomorrow in midfield. The team should have enough to see past Hearts, and I know Celtic for me. And just I'd give a shout out again, like Andy says, it's a magnificent amount of money that Paul and the guys at Celtic State of Mind have raised, and just a big shout out to anybody who's doing a show the day of tomorrow. Like I've watched quite a few of them today, and it's all been great content, and everybody giving their time for charity. It's just been fantastic. So a huge well done to everybody involved.